The Instructor Podcast with Terry Cook, talking with leaders, innovators, experts and game changers about what drives them.
Welcome to the Instructor Podcast Short Lessons. In these bite-sized episodes, I dive back into the archives and pull out a nugget of information or inspiration to get you thinking. And today we're heading back to April of 2022 when I spoke to the inspiration that is Jono Poon, and we discussed, amongst other things, how to handle other people's opinions. Now, I've included a link to the full episode in the show notes, and admittedly I am biased, but I'd highly recommend you listen to the full episode. But just before you do, allow me to direct you towards the Instructor Podcast website, where you'll find all the previous episodes, a ton of free resources, and more details about the Instructor Premium membership, which currently has a 1-week trial that is completely free. So head over to instructorpodcast.com. But for now, enjoy this short lesson.
But do you think that people worry too much about how other people look at them? So, for example, my bread and butter, driving instructor. That's what I do. And I've come to realize that I don't want to stop doing that. I always want to do that. The thing I want to do is reduce the amount of hours I do on the road and, get down. I think I've said this before, sort of between 10 and 16 hours a week is my goal for being an instructor. But still in the back of my head to this day, it's still a bit like, well, people, what will people think that one of my goals is to be a driving instructor and stay a driving instructor? So do you think that that's something a lot of people worry about when they try to think about, what they want to be? So what if someone laughs at me, and what if someone thinks that's stupid, or, doesn't think I'm pushing myself hard enough?
Yeah, absolutely. But the key thing is, do people's thoughts pay your bills? Do what people think really pay your bills? And if it doesn't, then do what you want, if that's what you want, right? As long as the key thing is do what makes you happy. You don't need validation from anyone else. You don't need approval from anyone else to do what you want to do in your life. You don't need to give that to anyone. The only person you need to justify to is yourself. If you can get over yourself and saying, yes, this is what I want to do, or this is not what I want to do, then that's the only person you need to go with. You don't need to worry about what everyone else thinks, because everyone's going to be at a point where we go, oh, he's doing something different again. Oh, he's off track. Oh, whatever. Like, so what? It's my life. I could do it and try whatever I want. If I don't like it, I'll stop it. But who are you to tell me that this is not for you? If I want to do it, I'll go for it and find out for myself if that is what I want. If it's not, then I'll stop. But don't stop and try. That's one thing again. Trying different things. The ability to try different things. Get over that fear. Yes, we were all suck at trying something new. When I first drove, I kept stalling about 20 times before I even accelerated properly, right? We all learn somewhere. We all have to start somewhere. We will all suck. That's just development. That's just journey. That's just growth, right? The more you do it, the better you get.
Yeah.
I suck at parallel parking. The more I do it, the better I get, ish. I'm still trying to improve.
Yeah.
Right? Angles and all that stuff. I know there's key things that you look out for, like when you turn and the angle, and if you're at the wing mirror of the other car, that's when you kind of like a sign to turn in. But it's practice.
I think it's interesting because when you were talking there, it made me reflect back on, because I used to work at McDonald's, and I think I started at McDonald's when I was about like 25, 26, because I came off of the building sites and went to McDonald's. Now, the initial reason I did it was because I was just sick of working like outside in winter. I wanted to get a warm job, and I thought I'll go and do this for a bit. And I was quite snobby about McDonald's workers, at the time. But I've never enjoyed a job more than working in the kitchen at McDonald's. I absolutely adored it. It didn't fit in with my long-term goal because, and again, this isn't meant as a criticism to anyone, but you think of the wage of working in the kitchen at McDonald's, it doesn't fit into my long-term goal. But if I could have stayed working in that kitchen and made 50 grand a year, I'd have stayed working in that kitchen. It was the most fun I've ever had. But I had to try and increase my wage. And there was this idea of, I hated telling people I worked at McDonald's. It was embarrassing. You got people sneering at you and making comments and all this kind of stuff. And it happened. So part of that was also me thinking, right, I need to get up this ladder. I need to get promoted. And the higher I went up the sort of the promotion ladder at McDonald's, the less I enjoyed my job. And it got to a point where I was sort of looking after stores and getting ready to take over my own store. And I'm just like, I really don't want to do this. I need to go. I mean, there were some more things in play as well. I'm like, this isn't what I want. I either need to go back to working in kitchen or do something else. And it's that outside perception that I think people have. And yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I can't remember it said it, but I heard someone say it recently that if you're not feeding me, financing me, or fucking me, I don't care what you've got to say.
That was from Dan.
Dan Meredith, yeah. It stuck in my head. I'm like, yes, that's it, because no one else matters.
Exactly.
So,
and I think people who work at McDonald's are the greatest and bravest people in retail, in food, actually, in food. And because of you guys who choose to work at McDonald's, we get to have fast food to eat.
Yep.
And we can't be bothered to cook. And I think you guys who work the late shifts, the 24-hour stores, are amazing, because I don't have the guts to do it. All right. And this is just from my honesty. I again, like you, would be scared of having that perception or that label on me and go, oh, that he worked in McDonald's and such. But then again, I worked at Top Man, I worked at Wix, I worked at different retails, and I didn't really, those serve the purpose. They helped me finance my driving lessons, right? They helped me finance my, driving exam and my theory test and all such back then. And you're ever going to be at a place where it serves a purpose. You may never know what that purpose is during that period, during that time. It may teach you lessons and things that you may take away later. But it's the experience that you learn during that time that you would need to develop. And that's key, trying new things, trying different experiences, different skill sets, from building industry to work in the kitchen. Again, different skill sets, different things, different knowledge, different background, different environment. All right. It's more customer focused now, instead of just building works and construction and all the hard labor stuff. It's completely different skill set. You got more social interaction with other people around the kitchen and different team members who's at the counter and the the delivery and such. So don't be afraid to try whatever you want to try.
Yeah.
Don't let everyone else stop you. Don't want other people's perception or what people's thoughts stop you or hold you back from what you want to achieve or what you want to do even. If you want to try out late shifts at, Tesco's, for instance, stacking shelves for a bit, do it, or if you want to do Uber fill out some time and Deliveroo and such, do it. If you want to try out different things, in whatever industry, whatever business, whatever skill set, drama, singing lessons, archery lessons, climbing, that's another one. That's things that I want to do. I was like, oh, maybe I'm too heavy that I can't climb. That was my perception, right, of myself. Like, that was my limitation. I was like, what do you mean that you're too heavy to climb? Then I saw people on Instagram who were like, double my size and said they were climbing just as fine. I was just like, what am I so afraid of? Like, I'm afraid of my own weight. I was afraid of falling and hurting myself. That was what I was afraid of. But once I got the climb and I got used to falling and all that stuff, I was like, oh, okay, this isn't as bad as I thought it was, right? The fear. Okay, at first I suck at climbing. At first I couldn't belay. I couldn't tie up the ropes properly. I didn't know how to, hold people up when they're climbing down. But that's what the training's for.
Yeah.
You're in a safe environment. You got instructors there to coach you, right? People you pay to coach you, to teach you what mistakes to make.
The Instructor Podcast with Terry Cook, talking with leaders, innovators, experts and game changers about what drives them.